Algebra Word Problems number 8b, Rearranging Formulas to Fit Our Word Problem. We keep doing word problems, and you know the rules. We need to read the problem, underline or circle what's important, make a plan to solve it, figure out which operation we need to use, add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and how we're going to use the information. We need to turn unknown amounts into variables, or plug our numbers into a formula, make a table or draw a diagram if it's really confusing, and that'll help us figure out what's going on. Then we write our expression or equation, we find the solution or simplify the expression, and then we check to see if it's right by plugging in our answer, substituting it in, okay? So remember that this guy is a coefficient. He's a numerical coefficient, and only because he's got that variable tagging along. If that variable wasn't there, he would just be a standalone number. See? Okay, so formulas show how one quantity depends on one or more other quantities. A equals LW is area equals length times width. Do you know what this is from? It's the area of a rectangle. The area changes as the length and width change, and we can rearrange the variables. Formulas can be evaluated if we know all the values except one quantity. We just substitute the known amounts and solve by isolating the variable. We write the unknown value to the left of the equal sign, and we write the algebraic expression that equals the unknown value on the right side. I'll show you why in a few minutes. Choosing the correct formula for the word problem is as important as solving it correctly. So now I've got a lot of formulas on the board. Wow, look at this. I've got perimeter and areas. I've got volume and sides, surface areas. And I've got distance, simple interest, Celsius, Fahrenheit. I've got all these formulas, and you know what? There's a lot more out there. These are the ones that you're going to deal with mostly, okay? These ones up here. So if I back up enough, you can see all those formulas. And did you know that we can change them to suit our needs? Yeah, we can whip them into shape and make them do what we want. Okay, so here's how. When we rearrange a formula, we solve for different variables. So check this out. Here's circle. This means circumference equals 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times the radius of the circle. So you know the radius of the circle? It's from the center to the side, okay? So you can find out the circumference, the outside, it's sort of like the perimeter of the circle. It's the outside circle. You can find the measure for that distance around the outside of the circle by multiplying 2 times 3.14 times this distance from the center to the edge. That's the formula, okay? And you just plug the correct numbers in. Well, a circular water fountain in the city square has a 98-foot circumference. How far is the center of the fountain from the outer edge? All right, well, think. The formula for the circumference of a circle is C equals 2 pi r. Yeah, so what? How is that going to help us? We already know the circumference. Why would we solve for the circumference? Well, we can rearrange the formula to suit our needs. Aren't you happy? So, C equals 2 pi r becomes r, the radius, equals C, the circumference, divided by 2 times pi, 3.14. How did that happen? Well, look. We divide each side of the formula by 2 pi. So, we're trying to solve for the radius, right? And remember what I said, we need to substitute in the numbers that we know, and we need to isolate the variable. So the variable that we're trying to isolate is this r right here. We need to find the radius. That's the center of the fountain to the outer edge. See? The center of the fountain to the outer edge. So instead of solving for the circumference, which is the way it looks right now, circumference equals something, we need to make it say r equals something. Well, we know the circumference is 98 feet. So what we do is, to solve for r, we see what's in our way. This 2 pi is in our way. We want it to say that the equal sign is next to this r, not next to the c. So because this 2 pi is in the way of the r and the equal sign, we're going to divide both sides by that 2 pi. 2 pi, okay? So we put a line under the C and 2 pi on this side to divide the circumference by 2 pi, and we put a line underneath this side and divide it by 2 pi. So what happens is this ends up becoming a 1, and we get rid of it. We discard it. See? The 2 pi over 2 pi becomes a 1, because remember, any fraction that has the same numerator and denominator equals 1. So now what ends up happening is, if we cover that up and we got rid of it, can you see what's there? C over 2 pi equals R. C over 2 pi equals R. Is that cool? Yay! All right. So what does that mean? It means now we can plug in our amount, 98 feet over 2 times pi 3.14, and that's going to tell us the radius of that fountain. See? Then we'll know the center of the fountain to the outer edge. Make it do what we want it to do. Isn't that fun? All right, let's try it again. Bob rented a rectangular storage unit that holds 1,584 cubic feet, but he needs to know the height to be able to store his grandmother's china cabinet. He wants to make sure it doesn't scratch the top. He wants to store it in there so nothing happens to it. He knows the length of the storage unit is 22 feet and the width is 9 feet. So what's the height of the storage unit? So think, the formula for the volume of a rectangular solid is V equals LWH. Rectangular solid. The volume is the length times the width times the height. If we needed to know the surface area of the outside of a solid, that would be the formula. But we just need the volume, how much it holds in cubic measure, okay? So if that's the formula for the volume, we already know that it holds 1,584 cubic feet. We're trying to solve for the height. So do you see in this formula what is in the way of making the equal sign next to the H? Well, again, we can rearrange this formula to suit our needs. We divide each side of the formula by the LW. That's what's in the way of putting the H next to the equal sign. Can you see that right there? It would be H equals V something, right? So we need to divide both sides by that LW to get that H by itself. And that's what we do. We put a line and the LW, the length width, underneath the volume, and we put it underneath here. And now, again, we can get rid of this because it equals 1. The numerator and denominator are the same. It cancels itself out. We can discard it. And now our formula says, if I cover them up, can you see that? V over LW equals H. Ha! We did it. We got the H by itself. Now we can solve for the height. So what that means is, since we know the 1584 and the 22 and the 9, we just plug those into the formula. Here's the volume, 1584, over the 22-foot length times the width. And if we do this math, we'll end up with the height. See? We can make that formula do whatever we want it to do. All right? I'm going to make another video, 8C, and I'm going to work with some of these other formulas, and we're going to do it some more if you need more help. If you don't, you can skip on to video 9. If you'd like a little more help, come and watch the next video with me, and we'll rearrange more of these and whip them into shape to suit our needs. Okay? I'll see you there. Bye.